Welcome back to another episode of Stronger Than the Current. Today's a little bit of a different podcast in that it's not a long podcast and it's not extremely educational or informative, but it is probably the most important podcast that we do. And that is just calling attention to the things that we really need to start addressing as a society and as those in the helping professions. And that is just mental health. Sadly, yesterday, a Broward County deputy took his life by his patrol car out in public, and just another patrol officer who felt that there was no way out. If you're not a first responder, if you're not in the medical profession and you're listening to this, I ask that you listen in and you lean in and you really embrace this idea. And that is, regardless of where you work, you are human. And every human experiences stress, and every human experiences anxiety. Every human experiences trauma. We all are so heavy burdened with so many things in our lives, from managing our finances and our homes and our families and of course our jobs and just the 9 million things that go on in our lives. And those that put on a uniform are no different. Sometimes, unfortunately, because of how desensitized we have come to the reality of the occupations and the helping professions, we forget that these people are human. We forget that not only are they bearing their own load from their personal lives, but they're also bearing the load of everybody that they come into contact with on a daily basis. It doesn't matter what the news says, in regards to, the police officer did this, the cops are doing this doctor was wrong about this. That doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're talking about a human. And so you wonder, well, how does a police officer get to the point of taking their lives? This is a guy that had 16 years on the force. That's 16 years of helping others, of experiencing things and seeing things that nobody in this world should ever experience or ever see. See, there's a chemical reaction in our bodies, which I talked about a couple weeks ago, that happens every time we endure stress and trauma, right? There's a chemical reaction and an uptick of cortisol and other hormones that adjust because of that. And when we're doing that, we're operating the fight, flight, or freeze mode of our brain. You can be stuck in that fight, fight, or freeze for years. You can not come down from cortisol because you're so amped up all the time because of the trauma that you endure. Well, if you have trauma at work and then you go home and you've got financial problems or you've got family problems or you're lonely, whatever the case may be, whatever it is that adds those stresses, that just is added on to the stress that you're experiencing within your career. And then you turn on the TV and you see how bad people in your occupation are portrayed as by the media and by others. Because of course, there are bad people, right? There are rotten apples out there in these occupations. But what does that do to you, the person that's struggling? It keeps you stuck in that mantra of not telling anyone, of just continuing to think that you're strong enough to bear the burden on your own. And the truth is, you're not. You're human. None of us can do this alone. You don't heal in isolation. It's not your responsibility to heal alone. There's nobody in this world that is expected to heal alone, regardless of the pressure that's put on you to be strong and to deal with it alone. Until we come to a point of realizing that every human needs someone, every human needs a place that they can go and debrief and receive the support that they need and just be able to let down their guard and not be perceived as weak and not be labeled as someone who isn't fit for duty. Until we realize that and create that culture, we're going to continue to see more and more suicides coming out of these fields, whether it's law enforcement or whether it's the helping professions in another realm, whether it's a psychologist, a veterinarian, a dentist, a doctor, a nurse. We're going to continue to see those rates increase until we start acknowledging the fact that we need to provide more resources for people in the helping professions from a mental standpoint. And those resources need to come from outside of the agencies, because the culture in and of itself does not lend itself to people being mentally broken. We expect you to be tough, and they expect you to not tell people when you're struggling mentally, just to be able to get over it. And if you don't think that's the truth, ask anybody that's willing to be vulnerable with you within these professions. They spend their whole life, their whole career being tough and being the strong one and being the one that fixes other people's problems. How in the world can we expect them to fix their own when they're already fixing everybody else's problems? So I encourage you today to just take a minute and spread the word. Share this podcast with other people so that we can start getting more and more people directed to our nonprofit, to where we do provide resources, including a 24-hour, 365 confidential peer support line that can actually just allow whoever it is in the helping professions or family member of someone in the helping professions to just talk, to just debrief. We're not licensed counselors. We're people that have been in the field. We're people that have struggled mentally. We're people that have been both in the culture and outside the culture. And so we see the picture. We're people that just want to support you, and we're people that surely understand how important it is to keep your information confidential. There's no paper trail with us. There's no calls being made to your jurisdiction. You're not going to have to do an exit interview with us when you retire. So there's literally no fear in calling us and getting the help and the support that you need. And by a crisis intervention helpline, let me just explain that. That just means that we're here for you in your time of crisis. So if you're going from one call to another, or you're on your way home after shift and you've got stuff in your head that literally you just want to dump it on us. Please call us. We're here for you. We understand. We're just going to listen to you, man. And we're going to give you resources if you need resources. We're going to give you advice. We're going to give you some tips to just kind of help you navigate the mental storm a bit. I just want to turn on the TV someday and not see anybody killing themselves, whether you're a first responder or whether you're not. Suicide should just not be happening with all the resources that we have in this world. We've got to change our ways, guys. We need to love one another more. We need to support one another more. We need to be more selfless, and we just need to help those that are in need. That's more important than anything, is that we just provide the platforms for people that need help. I tell you, if you're someone who can speak to this topic, please get in touch with us. We'd love to have you on a podcast just to tell your testimony. There's so much power in your story, and you went through the storms that you went through for purpose, and you can help somebody else's life, and you can help somebody else from engaging in addiction or suicide. There's a reason that you've been in the storm, and man, the strength that you have having come through that storm, you have a story to tell, and somebody else needs your strength. So if that's you, please give us a call or email us at contact@riptiderec.org. Call us at 561-444-5509. But today, if you feel that I'm talking to you, that's your conviction to give us a call. We're here for you. And we are going to continue as a nonprofit to just attempt to bust down the barriers and the stigma that exists in mental health within the helping profession. And we're going to just continue to do everything that we can, one person at a time, to just change the ways in which mental health is viewed in these professions. We wish you safety today. We wish you love. We wish you peace.